Now let's look at the same set of problems that we did, but instead of using dimensional analysis or ratios, but we're going to be looking at them using a chart so that you can convert from one unit to another directly, in case you're having trouble with using these ratios. So as we did in the previous video, we will go through these. We have convert 750 deciliters to liters. Again, metric to metric. The next one, letter B, convert 5.0 centimeters to micrometers, still metric to metric. Letter C, convert 0.002871 kilograms to decigrams. Letter D, convert 425 millimeters to meters. And letter E, convert 11.2 microliters to centiliters. This is the chart that we'll be using to convert from one unit in the metric system to another metric system unit. Now this will be used if you are having trouble with doing the calculations the way that I've just shown you. And this is also a great way to double check your work to see if you went to the right direction. You won't be given this chart on the exam, but you can make this up very quickly by just drawing some lines. And so what you'll want to do is you'll want to make one line that's particularly bold, and that's going to be your baseline, which is where you're going to find your base units, your liter, your meter, and your gram. So you'll notice that we have that bolded here. Then we're going to take some more lines. Go ahead and put the rest of the lines in. And what we're going to do is we're going to start 3 in front. So we're going to go K, and K is for kiloliter, kilometer, or kilogram, but we're just going to put a K there just to write it quickly. So we'll start with K, and then we'll go 1, 2, and then on the third one will be your meter, liter, gram, and then the fourth one will be D, then C, then M, then 1, 2, and the third one is micro. Notice that each of these will say liter, meter, and gram. Those are our prefixes with our unit following it. So either liter, meter, or gram, depending on what the question asks for. So again, we'll be doing this repetitively. We'll go K, 1, 2, 3, and on number 3 you're going to put liter, meter, gram. Then D, C, M, and then 1, 2, 3, and on number 3 you're going to put in micro. We're going to start with letter A to see how we use this. The first thing you should notice is that we're using the metric system here. We're going from deciliters to liters, so we're still using the metric system in both. We're not converting to American. And if I want to check my work with my chart, I'll start by putting in those letters. Start with K, then 1, 2, 3, and on the third one we're going to put MLG for meter, liter, gram, then D, C, M, and then 1, 2, 3, and on the third one we put micro. Now we're going to start doing the problem now that we have the label on there. And with these problems, the first thing you need to do is put in a decimal place. So you'll notice that in the question we have 750 deciliters, but we don't have a decimal on there. It is an implied decimal place, and that decimal point goes right after the 0 because it's 750, and then we're going to put a decimal place in there. I'm going to mark that in red with an X because I want to use that as I'm going through this process. And so then we're going to take that X and we're going to make that X on the line on the chart where we see deci. So go ahead and put that on the deci line. We'll put an X in red. That's where the decimal place used to be. And then we're going to put the numbers in front of that. So in this case, we're going to put 750 in front of the decimal place so that the numbers go around the decimal as if it were in the question. And now we're going to put in liters. So on the liter line, we're going to put a green dot. That green dot tells us where we're going to put the new decimal place. So you should see 7, 5, then the green dot there, then 0. And that tells us that our answer is 75 liters. Now let's try letter B. We're going to start by putting our letters in the chart, and that is K, 1, 2, and third one we put MLG, then D, C, M, then 1, 2, 3, micro. When we look at the question, you can see that there's a decimal place on this one, so we have 5.0 centimeters. We're going to go ahead and make that into a red X where between the 5 and the 0. We're going to have that decimal as a red X. We're going to look up on our chart. We're going to find on the centi line, we're going to put in a red X. In front of that, we're going to put the 5, and behind that, we're going to put the 0. So 5, red X, 0 is what we should see right now. And our answer is going to be in micrometers. So we're going to put it on the micro line. We're going to put our green dot. Put that green dot on the micro line. Now you'll notice that there's some spaces here that don't have any zeros in them. We're going to go ahead and add some zeros in. Those are placeholder zeros. And you'll see that your answer, it has still that red X in it. We're going to ignore that because that's where the decimal place was. You should now see that your answer is 50,000, and then micrometers because we're looking at the micrometer column. On to letter C. So pause the video for the moment and write those letters in at the top. We'll start with K, then 1, 2, and on the third one, MLG, then D, C, M, then 1, 2, and on the third one, micro. I'm going to place that red X where you see the decimal point between the two zeros there at the start. Then where are we going to put that red X on the chart? That's correct, it goes on the kilo column. So we'll put the red X there, we'll put the numbers all around it, so 0, red X, 002871, that's your start. Next we're going to put in a green decimal point to say where our new decimal point will be, and that's going to go on which column. Hopefully you got that, it should be on the deci column. And in this case we see a whole bunch of leading zeros. Those are irrelevant, we don't write those numbers, and you'll see that your answer is 28.71. And that should be in decigrams. Let's try letter D. So notice that we are still going from metric to metric. Go ahead and pause the video and put in those units. So you should have K, 1, 2, 3, MLG, DCM, and 1, 2, 3, and finally micro is on that third one. Where do we put the decimal place? Hopefully you got that it goes after the 5, even though there is no decimal, it's not showing. We know that there is a 5 as a placeholder decimal. We're going to put the decimal there. We'll put it in red with an X. And which column should we put that on? That's correct. It should go on the milli column. So we're going to put the red X on milli. We're going to put 425 in front of that red X. And then we're going to put our green dot on which column? That's correct. It'll be on our base unit, the one where we would see meters. So we'll put our green dot there. And we see that our answer is, and you should see then that your answer is 0.425 with the unit of meters. And now we can try letter E. Okay, and on letter E, again, we can see that we're going metric to metric, and this would be a two-step one. But on the chart, we're going to go ahead and put our letters, starting with K, and then 1, 2, 3, MLG, D, C, M, and then 1, 2, and on the third one we put micro. We're going to be looking at our question. We see that there is a decimal on this one. We make that into a red X. And which line does that go on? That's correct. It should go on the microliter line. We're going to put the 11 in front and the 0.2. The 2 comes after the red X. And then we're going to put in where we're headed to, and we're looking for the answer in centiliters. So which line do we put that on? Hopefully you picked centi. Put our green dot on the centi line. So for this answer, we're going to have to add in some zeros as placeholders. And we'll see that our answer is 0.00112. And the units in this case is centiliters. Next, we'll try the two questions that we added. So we're going to head to F. We see this is a metric to metric conversion. We start by putting in our letters on the top of the chart, starting with K, then 1, 2, 3. MLG is on your baseline, then D, C, M, and then 1, 2, 3. We put in micro on that third one. We're going to put a red X where the decimal is, so we'll have 684X, red X 99, and we're going to put that on which column? That's correct, we're going to put that on the deci column, so put that in. We'll put the 684 in front and the 99 behind the red X. And next we're going to put in where our new answer is going to be. Our answer is in kilometers, so we're going to put in our green dot on the kilometer line. We're going to have to add in a 0 as a placeholder, and we get 0.068499 kilometers. And on to our last one, which is letter G. And again, we see we're doing metric system, metric to metric. This would be a two-step one, but following the chart, it's very simple. We can do it in one step, or we can double check our work here. We're going to put in those letters into the chart. We'll start with K, and then 1, 2, and on the third one we put MLG, then D, C, M, and then 1, 2, and the third one we put micro. We're going to start by putting our decimal in. We're going to put in our red X where the decimal place is, and that is going to go onto the micro column. We put where the micro is, we put our red X. I don't really have a line here for the 7 and the 8, but you can go ahead and place them in. So we're going to put 3, 4, 5 in front of the micro, and then the 7 and 8 behind the micro. And then we're going to put in our green dot, and that should be on which column? That's correct, it should go on the centi column. And now we're going to go ahead and put in some extra zeros so that we have the right answer. And we get 0.034578 centigrams. So that's how we use these graphs. Hopefully it's easy for you to follow. And again, this is to help you double check your work. You should be doing the other method because we're going to be using that a lot more throughout the semester. It's a good method to learn, but this is a great way to check that you went the right direction and you didn't get off by a factor of 10 or didn't put something wrong in your calculator.